Hey everyone, welcome to Weld.com. Today we're doing episode 4 of the Kubota bucket build. I wasn't going to fix the header. That's what it's about, is fixing the header. It was all bent up, but everyone's been griping and stuff. But now you guys persuaded me, I'm going to do it. All right, I'm just playing around about the griping thing. So we're going to get into it and we're going to fix the header part. This is basically the header of the tractor or the bucket. So I was talking to Rippy154 from Instagram. He said most of the beating or most of the abuse is right here. What takes it is this header right here on the bucket. So we're going to go ahead and fix this. He's the one that basically changed my decision, and also you guys too. But we're going to cut this out right here, this bad piece, and replace this piece. But first, we're going to support these sides. I don't want these sides to collapse in or anything. So we're going to definitely keep our measurements. We have to keep our measurements. Then after that, we got rid of that stuff. We're gonna clean up our crap, or clean up our whatever excess metal from plasma cutting. Then we're gonna either put a square tubing here or an angle. I'm not completely decided yet. Then I'm gonna put a piece of flat plate right here. All right, you have to stick around and find out what I'm using, a square tubing or a piece of angle. All right. All right, so let's talk about what type of wire I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be using Select Arc, that's the brand. I'm going to be using 035 ER70S-6, that's for carbon steel. I'm going to be running on the bolts. I'm going to be running about 18.5, 19. Wire feed speed about 200, 250. I like to run really hot when I'm tacking stuff in place because I like to tap it around and kind of tweak it into like the perfect measurement you want to say. So if you tack it cold, it'll bust off loose and you get all mad and you gotta re-clean your tack and stuff. But anyways, I run 75-25 because I get less spatter and I think it runs the best on 75-25. And we're gonna be running off the Rebel 235. So yeah, so let me throw this up in here and I'll show you guys how to do this really quick. We're gonna be using V-groove drive rolls. All right, you gotta use that on hardened wire. When I cut this out, I don't want this to move. So I'm using a piece of square tubing. I don't use a flat bar because flat bar are flimsy. If you guys don't know what square tubing is, this is right here. Square tubing is pretty strong. So I'm just gonna put this up here, kind of close to this, because I don't want these sides to move out or move in. All right. So today actually is my lucky day because I just picked this out of the scrap pile and just put it up here. I didn't even pull a measurement or nothing on the piece. I pulled a measurement in here, but I didn't pull a measurement on this. So yeah, that's basically about it. We're going to put a couple big fat tacks right here, so we don't lose our measurement when we cut this out. Right, fast and easy. I'm running about 90 psi. I got a regulator back here. So we're going to be cutting about 3/16 material. So I'm just going to max this out. This is the ESOB Cutmaster 40. So yeah, this is the plasma and this is the type of consumables I'm using right here. All right. I don't know where my drag cup's at. My drag cup. So we're going to kind of freehand this a little bit. And plus I got a little side plate I can rest this on. How I know what to do, what I'm looking for. So here, this is what we're going to be looking for, or this is what I'm looking for. So I know I got to keep these pieces right here because the bucket lift arms go right here. So I don't want to destroy these. So I know this is bad and I know this is bad. So you kind of just follow this along this weld right here. And right here, we're not going to plasma cut this. So I want to be accurate because I'm going to have a piece that's going to look like this. It's going to match up to this cut we just did. All right. We want to try to keep our cut nice and straight with no gaps because it's going to be hard to weld because it's just going to make it harder to weld gaps on there. So that's what I'm doing. And this is what I'm looking for. All right. Basically, I got a straight edge right here so I can cut nice and accurate. So I'm just going to keep the cutoff wheel right against that and it'll keep me basically almost straight. So what I'm looking for is I don't have a break here, and also that really don't matter because I'm not taking this piece out. So I'm going to see where this brake line's at, where they broke it in the machine. So I'm going to cut a little bit before that, all right? Because that's where I want to put the other piece to. I'm going to meet up against it, and we're going to weld that out and probably grind that flush and where you can't tell. All right, we're going to put that piece right against that line. I'm going to measure about a 1/4 inch back from this, all right? So all this is a low angle. I made sure it was straight and everything because it's only 1/8 inch thick. All I'm doing is, you can use stainless carbon steel. This is the first, I dug for a while. This is the only thing I've seen. You really want to keep your measurements pretty much perfect on this. This matters a lot. All I'm gonna do is put a tack here, put 3 tacks total. I'm gonna put a tack here, check my measurement again, and put another tack in the middle and work my way down. These tacks look pretty shitty, but I'm not worried about them because this piece goes away and all we're doing is holding this brace on. So I basically just tacked on top of paint and it kind of burned away a little bit, or burned away once the puddle got so hot, all right? So don't be judging about the tacks because all it is a piece of junk plate. All right, so the first wheel I'm using was a cutoff wheel. A Weiler cutoff wheel is for carbon or stainless. And the second one, this is gonna be my approach on grinding. So since we cut that apart, I'm trying to clean up dross. I'll just use a regular buffing pad, but we got a little bit of meat to remove I left on there. So I usually take the hard rock right here, it's a 1/4 inch hard rock, and I approach it and I kind of get it all the way down right where the meat of the weld, meat of the old weld is like ready about to touch the good base metal, all right? You don't want to touch this wheel on the base metal because you're gonna leave deep gouges in. When you leave deep gouges in and you're gonna paint, well, them gouges are gonna show through the paint job because paint goes into that, into the low surface. Basically the scratches are lower than the base metal. So once that's ready about to touch the base metal, I switch over to the 60 grit and then I kind of start blending this in. If you look at this right here, this is a flat wheel. So if it's flat, I know I'm going to be holding as flat as possible and keep my surface true and flat the whole time while I'm taking that and blending that weld down. All right, so this is my way. You can do whatever way you want, but this is the way I'm doing it. And also when you go buy a wheel, see how thick this flap disc is? Well, you want to get it thicker, all right? Don't get something real thin, all right? It won't last as long. You're going to be using a cutoff wheel because I'm more accurate with a cutoff wheel, and this one's really thin. It's 1 millimeter thick. It's thinner than the kerf of that plasma. That kerf of that plasma is about 1/8 inch thick. So I'm basically meeting up the new piece with the old piece right here, and I want it completely like fitting perfect. I don't want to be welding big gaps. I don't want to spend all day on this. I want to be done like fast. I want to get done with this and move on to my another job of this. Another job. So yeah, you could do it this way, you could do it the other way. It doesn't really matter which way you do it, as long as you get the job done at the end of the day. So basically what I'm using is a Tiger Zerk from Weiler and a Metabo grinder. That's all I'm doing. And I'm putting this cutoff wheel right against the straight edge. It'll help me, guide me, and keep me perfect, much as perfect as I can. The only mess up I will is if I don't keep the grinder straight, all right? So I'll have to get the plasma right here because I can't get in there. I'll have to get the plasma and kind of shape that out because this guard's too big. I don't want to take the guard off. We dropped this piece out after we cut it. So I left a lot of meat right here because I didn't want to cut into my piece because I'd rather leave a little extra meat there than trim it back with a plasma like you've seen me doing this, all right? It might be a little extra work, but it's only a couple minutes longer. It's better than welding this up a little bit and grinding it flat. So I got it right here, removed a little bit, skimmed it down a little bit more, and skimmed this down, all right? The reason I did it that way because I don't want to sit there and grind for an extra 15 minutes. Everyone hates freaking grinding. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up with a hard rock. Then I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to a flat disc, like an 80 grit, all right? So all I'm doing is starting right here and working a little bit at a time until it almost touches. Like sometimes you can see your wheel almost touch this. And when you see that wheel touch that, get the heck off that spot and move on another thicker spot of this, all right? I don't work this whole thing because it's counterproductive, all right? It's easier to just work one little spot at a time and work your way back. I don't like moving forward because I can't really see what I'm doing moving forward. So I move back and look, I pay attention right on the edge of my wheel. I pay attention like a 1/4 inch of it, like quarter inch in front of it. And when I move back, I just kind of pay attention to, making sure I don't dig into this base metal with the hard rock, all right? And then when it almost touches that, I'm flipping over to a flat disc, 80 grit. Then I want to sit there and blend this in, hold it flat as possible, all right? You want to keep that wheel flat as possible so you won't dig into your good metal right here. You get like a BMR, base metal reduction. We're going to clean it up on both sides, and we're going to clean up on the back where we cut with a cutoff wheel. We're going to clean that up and get rid of the burr and get rid of that paint so we can weld. You'll see other ones like spaced apart. It has less of these, and like this one has got a lot of them, and the wires are a little bit softer on this roughneck, and it'll actually bite in there and dig in there good, and it actually will deburr it. You'll see on the other side, you don't have to take a grinding wheel. It's an extra step you have to do. All right, and you're not removing metal with this. You're just removing the rust, the paint, and deburring it. So for all the people that don't know, and other people probably do know, the reason we got this all cleaned up, removed all the paint, because we can't bite in good through the paint. It creates porosity, or we can't bite in through the paint, excuse me. We create porosity. You can start burning it off, but it's not a good weld. You want to make sure you're doing a good sound weld. I don't want to crack over time and I have to fix it later, all right? I want to look good when I'm done and do it once. If you want to do it once, not twice, remember that. I basically just removed the paint about 1/2 inch to 3/8 back from where we're going to fit the plate up and weld. So when you're doing this, just go back and check your work. You always want to check your work, all right? And this is the reason I like using them Weiler stringer beads, the roughnecks, the ones with a lot of wires. They're different from like a cup. Cups are a little bit different, unless you get the one with a lot of wires just like it. Like this avoids you a couple steps. Look, there's no burrs at all. I'm rubbing my hand down this, nothing. It's nice and smooth like a baby's butt. It's good. I mean, when you're adding a buffing pad, you're inducing scratches. Well, same thing. When you have coarse scratches, then you got to take them out. You're adding more steps to your work. This, I don't have to take the scratches out. All I got to do is sand the whole bucket lightly and throw paint on it. All right. This saves you a lot more steps, I think, with that type of wire wheel. On the header, I decided finally is I'm going to use a 2x4 square tubing, carbon steel. It's going to be about 3/16 thick. Tightened attachments online, they're using 1/8 inch. So we had this laying around, so I'm using 3/16. This old piece we cut out from here to here was 6 3/4. That was the old piece. I measured it over there. So all we're going to do is we can see where the old piece laid. So I'm going to go 6 3/4, mark it right here. All right. Then I'm going to take a square. We're going to kind of draw a line right there, and we're going to start the tube right there. And we're going to go back. The tube's 4 inches long, so we're going to go back 4 inches. All right, so the tube's going to be laid right here. Can't really see it, but this is where the tube's going to lay. It's going to lay straight across of it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut that to size and tack it up here. I had this tube up here flush. I didn't like it, so I'm recessing this down 1/4 inch. So I'm going to just finish shimming this and finish shimming this side, and we're just going to tack it in place and leave it how it is. This is a piece of scrap. We just found this laying around. Yeah, she's pretty bow-legged. She'll do though still. She's all right. So, so our measurements on the tractor I took was it's 2 7/16. That's the width, and the length is 48 7/16. So what we're going to do is basically work off a good edge. You always want to work off a good edge, good cut. So this still has this factory edge. All right. So we're going to pull off that. We're going to pull our 2 7/16. Pull that, mark it, cut it, and also our 4.5. 48 1/2, we're going to cut it and mark it. But we're going to do this all by hand with plasma. Someone asked, hey, Mike, can you do this with a hand plasma? I've never done it before. So we're all doing it off that little Cutmaster 40 ESAB. So I cut my piece a little bit long. You can see my soapstone a little bit showing here. So I'm going to go ahead and straighten this cut out and bring it in to where it's straight and it's within the 2 and 7/16. All right, I want it a little bit shorter than 2.5 because it measures 2.5 up there. I'm going to be using this Tiger Zerk wheel, hard rock, 1/4 inch, and we're just going to clean up the side with it and get it straightened out. Then I'm going to flip over to a flat disc, 80 grit, and just hit this bottom edge and get all that dross off. All right, we can't weld on top of that dross or that outside layer, we'll get porosity. Here's a little quick tip for you guys. So you set your square 2 and 7/16, and you didn't cut this straight. I got a couple bad spots. So you set this at 2 and 7/16, make sure your soapstone's grinded good. And you come down here and hold that, and you just kind of go down here and look for where it's high at. Where it's high, where it's long, you just kind of mark it with your soapstone. Let's check our measurements. So we got 2 and 7/16 there. That's pretty good. You guys can see that. 2 and 7/16, 2 and 7/16. I'm just picking random spots. 2 and 7/16. Man, I'm good. All right, that's why that straight edge helps you out and doing that little square I was showing you and dragging it down. So that's pretty good doing it by hand. We're gonna go over there and dry fit it. And there's a couple of spots I already know I gotta clean up I left long. As I set the piece of metal in there by using these magnets right here, just holding them up. I had about 5 or 6 in there. And I got that set in place, looked at everything, looked at the fit. Then I kind of was having problems at first trying to manipulate the bottom and top of the plate. All right, then I kind of thought of this. I use this as like a little wedge. And I just started wedging it down right here, all the way down, and put tacks right there until, until this was flush and until this matched my line. I basically drew a line as a guide, then I kept rechecking it with my square. I set my depths of my square where I first started liking it, how it set in, where I tacked it. Then I just kind of worked my way down, back and forth. And then when I got about 1 foot from the end, I noticed it was too tight. It wasn't coming up to my line. So there was only one way to basically fix it. 2 ways, either take the whole piece out, and I didn't want to do that. So I just took the plasma and cutoff wheel and cut a gap in there. So I could have clearance to pop back up. So I got that. As soon as I did that, I cleaned it up with a wire wheel, and then wedged it back, and it just popped right back up. And I liked it. I tacked it all in place, and I'm happy with it. So right now, we're gonna go ahead and weld this bad boy out. Felt pretty good. Everything went smooth. Didn't have no problem. Burn and go. On this top part right here on the outer side, it was humping up in one area right here. So if the weld don't have nowhere to go and it's just sitting on flat metal, it kind of humps up. So I took a grinder, but you can use an 1/8 inch wheel or a 1/4 inch hard rock, and basically groove it a little bit, and that weld will sit down a little bit and look, it will sit down and look uniform and it'll look pretty. So I did that all on that bottom plate right here. So it'll really look good. That's a good little tip right there. And I just jumped around. You want to jump around, wire wheeled everything, got the BBs off, did the same stuff inside. And yeah, everything went good. Love it. All right, everyone, that wraps up the Kubota bucket. I'm gonna take it home and paint it. Thanks for watching, I appreciate it. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and drop a comment below. We like everyone's ideals, even movie ideals, because we're running out some. Make sure you guys give this a thumbs up for sure. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Learning is key. I'm Man Cub.